Hey friends, the holidays are upon us, and in the spirit of a partridge in a pear tree, we're gonna talk about some of our local partridges. Except they're not actually partridges, they're grouse. We're gonna go over some fun facts about the 4 species of grouse you can see in Northwest Wyoming. A lot of my friends tell me that they see sage grouse all over Teton County, but just because you see a grouse next to sagebrush doesn't mean that it's a sage grouse. Dusky grouse are our most common grouse in Teton County, and they live in mountain shrub communities that have sagebrush, things like russet buffalo berry, and woods rose. Commonly, they're the ones that you might see on a trail. If they're challenging you, they might be a male in the springtime trying to display and attract mates. If they're running away from you, it might be a hen trying to distract you away from her chicks. Male dusky grouse have these bright purple sacs right here, and they make a hooting sound in the forest in the spring to attract mates. And it sort of sounds like So Wyoming has some of the longest documented wildlife migrations in the lower 48, but dusky grouse are the Guinness Book of World Record holder for shortest animal migration. These guys are something that's known as altitudinal migrants. So instead of coming down to the valley in the wintertime, they actually go up to 300, 400, 1,000 vertical feet. You might wonder why they do that. Some people think it's a result of competition. Instead of competing with lots of other birds and animals for precious food resources in the valley bottom, they go up high and feed on things like needles and buds in dense conifer stands. The next most common grouse in Teton County is the ruffed grouse. Ruffed grouse look pretty similar to dusky, but you can tell them apart because of a crest on the top of their head in addition to the ruffs, which are black, shiny feathers on the sides of their necks. They're also the state bird of Pennsylvania. Male ruffed grouse do a really cool thing known as drumming. If you've ever heard a sound that sounds like a lawnmower or a motorboat in the middle of the woods, it's more than likely a ruffed grouse. Ruffed grouse display on top of a log, and they use the same log year in and year out. Ruffed grouse love their logs, and their logs love them. Another cool thing about ruffed grouse is that they can actually grow snowshoes. When the snows get deep and the days get dark, they can actually get these spongy growths on the sides of their toes called pectinations. It makes each toe wider, and so they can stay on top of the snow.
Wow.
They're also known as chianophiles. Chianophile means snow lover. Ruffed grouse populations do best in areas where there's consistently 10 or more inches of soft, fluffy snow on the ground. The birds will spend the majority of time in the winter months beneath the snow surface and come out just occasionally to get some food. Wyoming is home to more sage grouse than any other state, but just because there's more in Wyoming doesn't mean that they're doing great in Teton County. In fact, they're at their lowest level since counting officially began 20 years ago. A major contributing factor is that the tall sagebrush that they rely on in the winter months has been disturbed due to things such as wildfire. Sage grouse are North America's largest grouse. These chonky boys weigh in at up to 7 pounds. They've also been clocked at flying up to speeds of 55 miles per hour. Sage grouse like to get together to dance in areas known as leks. Sage grouse will use the same lek year after year, where they show up and have a dance-off to attract mates. In areas with hundreds of birds, usually only one male will get to mate with all the females. Even though sage grouse live in the sage, leks are usually open areas like this spot behind me. It provides a good dance floor for the females to be able to judge the best male dancer. They have one of the craziest displays of any bird in the entire world. And part of it is because they have this air sac on their chest that can take up to 1 gallon of air. That's this much air. You could fit a lot of eggnog in that esophagus. In Teton County, we have a very small population of sharp-tailed grouse. Across the range, they only occupy 10% of the area they used to. Sharp-tailed grouse have 2 lavender sacs on the sides of their neck, but the most distinguishing characteristic is their dance. Male sharpies will show up to dance in the morning and the evening. They'll even dance in the late fall. Some people think this is juvenile birds getting some practice for the next spring when the females show up. These little whirling stampers have the best dance of all, in my humble opinion. They look like little spaceships. They make the coolest sounds. Their sounds are so cool! Sharp-tailed grouse dance like this. They kind of duck their head down, and then they stamp their feet and turn in circles really fast. The American Ruffed Grouse Society estimates that only about 80 of every 2,000 chicks live past their first year. And survival rates on species like sage grouse and sharp-tailed grouse are even lower. Something all these 4 species have in common is that they need good habitat. And there's less habitat than there's ever been. So if you find yourself with bare ground, consider planting native grasses and forbs like these. Until next time, stay curious.
In the first nature notebook, the Tetons gave to me a ruffed grouse in a fir tree. In the second nature notebook, the Tetons gave to me 2 great green gentian and a ruffed grouse in a fir tree. In the third nature notebook, the Tetons gave to me 3 native bees, 2 great green gentian, and a ruffed grouse in a fir tree. In the fourth nature notebook, the Tetons gave to me 4 sparking embers, 3 native bees, 2 great green gentian, and a ruffed grouse in a fir tree. In the fifth nature notebook, the Tetons gave to me 5 wild rows, 4 sparking embers, 3 native bees, 2 great green gentian, and a ruffed grouse in a fir tree. In the sixth nature notebook, the Tetons gave to me 6 moose of mulching, 5 wild rows, 4 sparking embers, 3 native bees, 2 great green gentian, and a ruffed grouse in a fir tree. In the seventh nature notebook, the Tetons gave to me 7 slows for steaming, 6 moose of mulching, 5 wild rose, 4 sparking embers, 3 native peas, 2 grapefruit gentian, and a rough grouse in a fir tree. In the 8th nature notebook, the Tetons gave to me 8 curlews courting, 7 slopes for skiing, 6 moose a munching, 5 wild rose, 4 sparking embers, 3 native peas, 2 grapefruit gentian, and a rough grouse in a fir tree. In the 9th nature notebook, the Tetons gave to me 9 chickadees, 8 curlews courting, 7 slopes for skiing, 6 moose a munching, 5 wild rose, 4 sparking embers, 3 native peas, 2 grapefruit gentian, and a rough grouse in a fir tree. In the 10th nature notebook, the Tetons gave to me 10 choke cherries changing, 9 chickadees, 8 curlews courting, 7 slopes for skiing, 6 moose a munching, 5 wild rose, 4 sparking embers, 3 native peas, 2 grapefruit gentian, and a rough grouse in a fir tree. In the 11th nature notebook, the Tetons gave to me 11 sage-grouse strutting, 10 choke cherries changing, 9 chickadees, 8 curlews courting, 7 slopes for skiing, 6 moose a munching, 5 wild rose, 4 sparking embers, 3 native peas, 2 grapefruit gentian, and a rough grouse in a fir tree. In the 12th nature notebook, the Tetons gave to me 12 sharpies stamping, 11 sage-grouse strutting, 10 choke cherries changing, 9 chickadees, 8 curlews courting, 7 slopes for skiing, 6 moose a munching, 5 wild rose, 4 sparking embers, 3 native peas, 2 grapefruit gentian, and a rough grouse in a fir tree.